Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Corson Schmidt. Today, I'm thrilled to host Dustin Mason, sales manager at Performance Lexus, and arguably the most recognized Lexus sales manager on YouTube. With more than a decade at the dealership level, a foundation in Lexus automotive manufacturing, and an automotive college diploma covering both service and business, Dustin brings a rare 360-degree perspective to the industry. He's built a vibrant online community, contributed content for Ducati, and even takes skies with his own plane. Leading with adaptability and passion, Dustin's journey is a testament to building culture, embracing new challenges, and sharing the love for cars and beyond the showroom. Let's dive right in. Thanks for joining me, Dustin.
Thanks for having me, Carson.
I'm a little messed up, a little backwards there. It's been a long week. So Dustin, you've kind of climbed the ranks at Performance Lexus, starting from the bottom, and now the well-known face of Performance Lexus, the YouTube man himself. Can you walk us through your journey in the automotive industry and kind of what specifically drew you to Lexus as well?
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I won't bore with too many of the non-impactful chapters, because with anybody's automotive journey, it's never just a straight line. I would think a lot would agree with that. It's kind of like a meandering river. We're going to get there. It just takes a little bit of time. For me, I wanted to be a mechanic right out of high school. Thought, I wanted to be around cars. Mechanic was a way to do it. Watched Fast and Furious. Thought I could be one of those cool guys turning wrenches. Once I got into that, I realized I am not good enough to be a mechanic. That's for sure. But slowly realized after spending some time, at the mechanic shop level, at the manufacturing level with TMMC, that the business side might be where I want to go. So, taking what I learned in those previous roles, at 23 years old, hopped into the sales world. And funny enough, the dealership I wanted to end up at, I couldn't get there right away. It was Toyota. I wanted to start with Toyota, which is a volume brand. I recommend that to anybody looking at getting into the industry. Don't skip right to luxury necessarily. Get some reps in with a volume brand. But they weren't hiring anybody without an experience. So I had to make a couple stops ahead of that until finally I got the chance to join the Toyota team. And that was at 23, and I loved every minute of it. I was so scared of failure that I worked so hard to get the sales and the momentum, coming from a very different background.
Sure. No, that's amazing. And I love how you said you wanted to start off being a mechanic, but you didn't have the skills, because people think it's, you're just turning wrenches. But it does take a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge to spin a wrench and know what you're doing without messing up the customer's vehicle at the end of the day.
And also making money too. When, as a mechanic, to make any real money, flat rate is usually the way to go. And that job's going to pay you 2 hours. If it takes you 6 hours, you're losing money. If it takes you 1 hour, you're making money. And I just wasn't quick enough, man. I don't know if I overthought things or I'm not strong enough. I don't know.
Just had to make sure it's done perfectly, eh?
You definitely have to make sure it's done, perfectly and quickly. And there's all these little tricks and tips that mechanics use for that. And, in a good way, I mean. But it wasn't for me. I was way better at talking to people than I was at fixing cars. That's for sure.
For those listeners who might not know who you guys are, or kind of what makes Performance Lexus unique compared to other dealerships, do you mind just explaining that a little bit? And how
for sure.
Your journey in the automotive or in the YouTube world has kind of made a big impact on the dealership as well.
Yeah, so I'll continue that journey a bit. So from Toyota, I was there for 2 years, and we were one of the last Toyota Lexus combined stores. So I had a mentor move over to the Lexus side. He told me I should do the same, so I gave it a try. And then 6 months from that, I took on a management role, which was very scary. And, I think whenever you're scared, you kind of work harder, because I worked really hard in those first couple of years of that role for sure. And what made it kind of special is the dealer group that I belong to, Performance Auto Group. I don't know the actual spec. We might be the second or third largest in Canada now.
Wow.
And a big part of that is you can change dealerships, you can grow, you can, wherever there's opportunity, it's kind of like a great place for that. So we had this really big name behind us of Performance Auto Group, but our actual dealership size is quite small. And it's like a tiny little showroom attached to a Toyota store. And in there, we had to try to figure out, like, how do we grow in volume? How do we grow in experience and give people like a luxury experience in this little, triangle shaped showroom that we have? And we, sort of over COVID, I mean, the industry innovated and changed and stuff. And out of nowhere, I found myself kind of on YouTube. It was kind of a funny turn of events. There was a sales contest where salespeople were going to be given, a lot of money from the manufacturer if they could win like a video contest. And being a manager, I was encouraging my team, like, hey, can anybody do this? Like, please, please, please. It was like the last day before submissions were capped. And I was like, whatever, I'll just do it myself. I'll just try it out. And I followed like what they wanted to see in that video, and I ended up winning, which was really cool.
Nice.
So we were thinking, we're like, this could be something, kind of fast forward a little bit. I'm at lunch with some car friends, and one of them brings this girl with him, and whatever, we get to talking. She liked that I had a Toyota Supra. And then, fast forward a week later, I see on Instagram that she is a huge YouTuber at a dealership called the Kia Hyundai channel, or the Hyundai Kia channel. And it's the biggest dealership YouTube channel in Canada and maybe the world. She would fact check me on that for sure. Her name's Gabby. And I was like, oh, we need to build that, right? So got to talking to her. She told me what it's done for their dealership. It's created a following. It's created an elevated experience for people because when they come in, they feel like they already know you. And she told me, like, you should do it yourself. Like, don't get anybody else to do it. You have passion. You should do it. And in my head, I was like, but I'm already so tired. Like, I'm already managing a store. Like, how could I possibly do that? But she said, trust me. And I started doing it. And then I met a gentleman who's another big YouTuber named Shark Boy. And he was starting a media company. He pushed me as well with my co-pilot Bhaskar, who's a videographer. And before we knew it, every Tuesday we just started filming Lexus content. And, eventually it became, monetized. I remember hitting that 10,000 subscriber mark was a big deal. And then it just started to snowball. Like, out of nowhere, I'm getting phone calls from South Africa, from Europe, from Brazil, and like people are like, "Hey, I just wanted to say like I love your content," or I also got salespeople that like, "Hey, I just started at a dealership in Texas. Like, do you have any advice or can you mentor me and stuff?" And I was like, "Oh my god, this is not what I expected." And at the same time, I'd be in the showroom and people would stop me like twice a day and just say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm here because of your video." And it would be any age group. Like, it could be a 20-year-old person or it could be, an 80-year-old couple. And they'd be like, we saw you on YouTube. Like, that's why we're here to buy this car. And it just kind of snowballed. And I was like, oh, I'm increasing the reach of our dealership, which is very small. Like, we're in St. Catharines. It's not a huge city. Definitely. And then now I'm also making people feel like welcome when they run into me in the showroom. Like, we know that guy, right? He's like our friend Dustin. And then fast forward, I've been doing it for like, I think like almost 3 years now on YouTube.
That's crazy. No, that's awesome. And that's a big part of any business now is your digital presence, right? You got to be seen, you have to be known, and it's going to really set you apart from your competitors. And especially being in a smaller town in Ontario, with Ontario being huge and there being some massive cities and some massive dealerships, it really sets you guys apart and creates that community as well within the dealership and the surrounding town. So I think it's really cool that you guys, and the videos, I went and did some watching. They're really good. Like, they're great videos, man. I love them. And like, to have those videos where you're kind of comparing two vehicles. Like, I watched the one when you were comparing the new Lexus SUV and was it the new Pathfinder? Is that what it was? Or it
might have been one of the
Toyota.
Yeah, Highlander.
The new Highlander, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you don't see many people comparing the new vehicles. It's a lot of the older ones. For like people coming out of high school, they'll compare like older vehicle. But for brand new, it's pretty cool to see that content, so people can get an idea of kind of what's coming out, what features the new vehicle has, the Lexus versus the Hyundai or whatever you guys are looking at. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like the new advertising, right? Is like, we don't want to just see a commercial. We want to see like someone being candid and real. And, I'm lucky enough that Performance Auto Group has all these brands. So, when the new BMW, X3 came out, I was able to like, oh, can I go borrow that and bring it over here and compare it to like the Lexus NX and just see like some differences and like pros and cons of both. And then, yeah, anybody searching to buy one of those two cars will come across it. And some of those videos like did so well. I remember posting one on the Saturday and like waking up the Sunday morning and it was already at 100,000 views. And I'm like, what just happened? So it's been a really cool, like, extra bit of the role for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. As a sales manager, what's your approach to building such a high performance team and such a customer focused team at the same time to make sure you're treating those customers like family, to make sure you guys are rolling out and creating that community back again?
Yeah, I mean, lucky enough, Lexus as a brand does a really good job at like instilling that in us already. So when it comes to the guest experience, because we call them guests, because Lexus is saying like, treat a customer like you would a guest in your home. So we just use the word guest. Yeah. People have to have a little bit of that thirst for serving. So for being that person to like go above and beyond and look for opportunities to like wow people, that has to be a little bit ingrained for sure. But then we can celebrate it at the dealer level. So when we see someone do what's called an omotenashi, which is like a Japanese kind of phrase, kind of word for like personalized hospitality. So, having that person pick up their new car, and not only does it have a bow on it, but it also has their favorite song playing. Or it also has a gift that has their dog's name engraved on it. Like there's things like that that's awesome. You can't just teach people. You have to kind of inspire it or celebrate it when it happens. But then you combine that with, you said high performing. And that is almost a different beast on its own. Because, it feels good to make someone's day. But to be a high performer means also being really disciplined and like, I have a couple of really high performers on the team that are, averaging over 20 cars quite often, which is like a big deal in the car industry. If you can crack that 20 car mark, you're making, usually some pretty good dough. And, those people, you have to figure out what drives them individually, because definitely it's different between each person. Like, there's one guy that I can't really motivate with money anymore because, he drives a Nissan GTR and a Lexus ISF and has all these things. But I can motivate him with, an experience or sometimes even an extra day off. Where the other guy, the other top performer, he just wants money. It's like, no, just give me another $300 gift card to the keg and I'm happy. So finding what drives them is important. And then the other part is not forgetting about the other performers on the team. Because just because they're not a 20 car a month person, it doesn't mean that they're not a vital part of the team we built here and like the experience. And like if you interviewed me like 6 years ago, I would have been like, I'm a great leader. Like I'm a really good leader. And then every year you kind of get humbled a bit because new problems arise and new personalities come into the mix and all of these things. And it's like, it's kind of like how lawyers don't say, or the way that they describe what they do is they say they practice law because it's kind of always moving and getting better. I look at that with like leading people, is it's like you kind of practice it, like, and you try to be the best version you can, but it's going to change. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be exhausting. Like I'm pretty tired these days, but you get motivated by that too. So yeah, it's definitely a different bag to have great experience and top performers. It's constant.
For sure. And it's nice to have team members there that are going to be there a while too, that you can, what motivates. Like you said, the one guy's not motivated by money, but he's motivated by experience. And as long as you can keep him motivated and keep that new experience coming, he's going to stick with you guys, keep performing the best he can, and keep moving and helping you guys grow as a team, right? Yeah. Which is super cool. So Performance Lexus has won the top honors for guest satisfaction. What strategies or habits have you found most effective in exceeding the customer expectation?
Yeah, so it's definitely, I'll tell you what it is not, and it isn't having the shiniest dealership with the most amenities, because that's not what we have. But it is trying to be as methodical as we can with guest experience. Like, it's kind of like the red car theory where, if you're looking for a red car, you'll see 20 in a day, but if you're not, you won't even notice one.
Yeah.
You have to be looking for ways to wow the guest, because especially a Lexus buyer, like, a lot of retired Niagara-on-the-Lake residents have been wowed again and again and again because they're on their like seventh Lexus. So you can't keep doing the same things to wow them because they've already gotten the nice bottle of wine. They've already gotten the blanket with the Lexus emblem on it. Like, all of these things have already happened. You have to try to look for kind of like the uncommon courtesy, like the way that, doesn't necessarily fit into a dealership. I had this one guest who was coming in from Toronto, which happens a lot. And he was running a bit late, so he wanted to take his family for lunch before he got here. And he said, what's a good restaurant? And I gave him a local restaurant called the Twisted Pig. And I called the restaurant right away, and I said, hey, a gentleman's going to be coming in. If you Google his name, you'll see a picture of him. And she said, oh, I think he just walked in with his family. And I said, perfect. Here's my credit card. I want you to cover the bill. And when they go to pay, just say, it's been taken care of from Lexus. Well, you're going to pick up a car. You're not expecting Lexus to like intercept your lunch receipt or your lunch bill. And he was just wowed by it. And it's like, it would have been so easy for me to not do that and still just give him the bottle of wine at delivery. But instead I was like, no, I'll find a way he's going to tell that story over and over again. And it takes work, but you can find those areas.
For sure. No, that's a super cool story. And that's something. Like, I've had a couple dealerships on the podcast, and I've never really heard about that side of the customer expectation and really stepping above and beyond that customer satisfaction. I think that's super cool. That's a neat story that you're bringing to the table, and it's going to bring that customer attention. People are going to want to come back because they're like, oh, what are they going to give me next time? If this guy bought me lunch this time, are they going to like come out to dinner for me next time? Or what's the next big step, right?
And that's what luxury is about, right? Is like, we know that they can buy a car that's a lot less, pricey and still get them from point A to point B. But a luxury purchase is like an emotional purchase. So we have to meet them on that playing field of like, let's make it a story. Let's, pull those heartstrings when we can and stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's super cool. So Lexus continues to innovate from hybrids to the latest in connected vehicle technology. Have you seen any new models or features that you are really excited to share with the customers right now?
Yeah, so definitely hybrid has been our claim to fame in the last couple of years. We're not a brand that like overinvested in full EV at a time where, full EV wasn't in the market, the most strong, I would say. So with that said, the next couple of years looks pretty exciting for Lexus. We are going to have a new redesigned RZ, which is a full EV, and that'll check some boxes for people for like a second car. But I'm most excited. There's going to be some high performance stuff coming out.
Nice.
So the new ES is going to be here by next spring, let's say, and there's going to be a variant of that's like 400 horsepower. And I keep saying it's not your uncle's old ES, like the the beige on beige ES that like everybody's uncle had. This is like a high tech, high performance, super sleek luxury sedan, and then we're going to see some other models follow that. Like the IS is going to follow that. There's going to be a new coupe that comes out, and I'm just pretty excited for those sorts of things to come to the front for us. I mean, this past year we didn't have a ton of new stuff. We had some off-road trucks and stuff come out, but for like some state-of-the-art fast cars, I think, and fast cars that are also good on gas, I think that's going to be a really cool place for us.
That's awesome. Do you see the landscape of vehicles moving more towards the EV hybrid versus that combustion engine, or do you think we're still going to see all three kind of mixed together for the next 10 or 15 years?
I don't think 10 years. I mean, right now I'm happy that we have all three. Like, I still get a lot of people coming in looking for just full ICE engines. Hybrid is a really nice space to be where, no range anxiety. It still drives like a regular car to a lot of these people that are new to it. But I mean, I was at a conference last week with Lexus, and they're saying, no, the future is still electric. Whether that's hybrid electric or full-on electric, the next 10 years, I mean, there's not going to be as hard of a deadline as there was a couple years ago for sure. But it is going to go that way. Right now, we still have some V8s offered. Not a lot of car brands have those. So I'm hoping we can still hold on for a couple years, but 10 to 15 years, it'll be hybrid or gas, or full electric. Lexus has already announced that the last gas car has already passed, and that was the GX. So anything from now on will be launched with a hybrid variant. The GX was the last one to not. So we know it's going to go that way. Will it stay that way forever? Who knows? But hybrid definitely is a sweet spot in my opinion.
I don't have much experience with hybrids. I've kind of only driven ICE vehicles, so I'm a little bit biased towards that way. I like the sound of vehicles. I like a driver car. But I've heard great things about the hybrids, and especially for people that are traveling, because you have such a long range with the hybrid vehicles, right? And I think that's one thing that's super cool. And if we can keep that, and like you said, it keeps you away from that that range anxiety. I think that's what you called it. Is that what you called
range
it?
Anxiety with the full plug-in. Yeah,
which is super nice. And I feel like that's the direction we should go, is more of that hybrid model. And I'm probably not going to buy one in the near future, but I'd like to see how fast that technology is going to advance to get those ranges further and further as they manufacture more and more vehicles. Because even in the past few years, it's been substantial, the difference between battery to battery and model to model on the ranges, and even battery quality and vehicle quality as well.
Oh yeah. And you know what? Like, I think manufacturers can make them fun still. Like, we have one called the RX 500 where it uses a 6-speed transmission with a hybrid powertrain, which is like, hybrids have usually been like a CVT, continuously, variable transmission. And having those gears actually made it more fun because you could feel the shift, and then that electric motor kind of boosts you a little bit into that gear. But I'm kind of like you. Like, I have an old Supra, as I mentioned. And my favorite thing about that car is like how analog, and just like I can smell the fumes when I start it up, like it's loud. I still think there's going to be a place for that. No different than how we still have like horse races and horse buggies, and people ride horses for fun, even though cars came out, right? It's still like a recreational thing. And maybe gas engines and gas cars can be like that. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep it that there's enough fuel that people that build their cars have fun with their ICE engines, want to go to car shows, want to go to track days, whatever. They can do that as long as there's enough regulation that we're allowed to do that, because there's just something about, like, even like I was talking to someone on the podcast yesterday, and he works for a Harley dealership, and he's like, there's something about that Harley sound, that motorbike sound, that you're chopping down the road, and that's a lot of the reason why people ride a bike, right, is to hear that noise. And it's not other than car guys, they love hearing that sound, or like truck guys that drive diesels, right, they love hearing the bark of that diesel engine. So I think there's going to be tough to get people away.
I agree. At least in our lifetime, I think we're going to be all right. Hopefully in a couple centuries from now, it's still the case. I don't know.
So obviously the market's always evolving. Have you seen any trends in the automotive industry, any other trends in the automotive industry, in terms of kind of customer expectation, product development, or within dealerships themselves?
I mean, like in regards to the guest experience, like to the actual business. Yeah. So a big part is definitely like, because we're seeing, especially down in the States, that there are some companies starting to launch kind of like direct buy. So that means like manufacturers can sell direct to a consumer, and it's not being as well received as I think on paper it looks to be. And that's when I look at even just my workload at a luxury dealership. So there's so much complication with, just a regular vehicle purchase. So much so that it's almost job security, because it's kind of like they need the people here. I mean, we saw, or I've spoken to some Tesla owners, for instance, and one of the things is like, they're like, sometimes I just wish I could go in there and ask the guy how I can, I got a new phone, I need to do this, like whatever. instead of like calling the hotline or whatever the process is. So to me, that shows that there still is an appetite for it, especially when you're spending, $100,000 on a car. Maybe there's going to be people, like I do have some of my guests that if they could just click a button on their phone and have a new car delivered to their driveway, they would do it for sure. But it's a very small percentage. So what I see with luxury brands happening is kind of what I've already kind of depicted we're trying to do. And that's, elevating that guest experience to a level, because it is a luxury purchase at the end of the day. Whether that is, the example I used, but also incorporating that digital space, right? Like there's no reason that a small dealership in St. Catharines should be getting, 400,000 views on YouTube every month plus if it wasn't for, using a space like YouTube. I mean, I can't just go out there and wave a flag and get that many people to look at me, but I can use it in the digital space and telling a story on that space. So I think it's going to be a bit of both. It's going to be use digital as much as you can to create a brand image, but at the same time, make sure that when you do have guests in the door, you really exceed expectations. And if that's the case, I mean, dealerships will be around for a long time.
Sure. How has AI technology affected dealerships? Has it affected you guys in a positive way? Have you guys implemented that and started using it? Because that has been the buzzword of 2025. Has it been something that you guys have integrated in your systems?
So yeah, like as a dealership, I get a lot of companies reach out to me like every week that I just keep saying no to, because like everybody's got like an idea to make the dealership better. AI has been one of those, except for in the fact of like coaching. So like I use cloud AI as well as ChatGPT, and I try to have the salespeople use it as kind of like a self-improvement tool. So like for instance, I can type into it, hey, I have a salesperson that got some feedback that says that it wasn't a very sharp experience for the guest. Then AI can say, oh, sharp. Well, that could be mannerisms, that could be product knowledge, that could be the way you dress, but also it could be the way you talk. And using a tool like that to really like coach or fine tune or run things by, it's kind of like having like a co-pilot or like a partner help you through that. Yeah. In terms of using it to engage with guests is tricky, because I'm finding, and I don't know if you are the same, Corson, but I'm finding I also have this weird like sixth sense about AI. Like if I reach out to a company and I get a response that's too professional, I'm like, that's AI. Like that's not a real person. And I'm actually turned off a little bit, where if I can see a response that has a bit of flaw, has a bit of like candid or personality, I'm more warm to dealing with that person. So I'm trying to tell the salespeople not to use AI to like write your whole email, but you can use AI to make it better. But people are starting to be able to sniff it out a little bit more. I mean, even scrolling through Instagram, if I see a video that's like too good to be true, I'm like, that's AI. Like we're sniffing them out, right? I don't know. Are you the same? Like, do you feel that way?
I'm the same. And it's quick too, right? Even with it being, 7 months into the year now, you can tell exactly when AI is doing what. Just, it's becoming common knowledge to us. And it's almost, like you said, it turns you away because you don't want to see AI. You can catch it so easily. And it's something that even with sales, right? Like, especially if you're having automated responses or automated follow-up, something right away, people are going to catch on to that really quick. And they might not want to support you because you're pushing that AI model to supposedly be more convenient, but you're almost making it more of a hassle because people, I'm kind of on the edge because it could be something that's really beneficial, but if people aren't a fan of the AI responses and whatnot, you're just going to push them away even further and they're not going to want to support you. So that's how I'm on it. But yeah, like you said, with content, you can tell exactly when AI is being used, unless it gets really good in the next 6 months. Maybe it's beneficial to use, but that's where I'm at on that.
And like I think as a tool, it's super helpful, but it shouldn't take over anything, because like we're gonna sniff it out. I use it like sometimes for image generation, like for a sales meeting where I'm like, hey, can you make me look like I'm carrying the whole team on my back or something? Like, you know what I mean? And it's fun and engaging that way. Yeah. But that's how a tool should be used, right? So.
No, and to your point, when you said earlier, you get your team to use it as like almost a coaching device, and it's great because it takes all that knowledge from the internet and it gives you specific knowledge exactly in your situation. It can put itself in your shoes and give you knowledge that you would have never thought about, and it just makes it really convenient in that coaching aspect. And I think that's the best way to use it, is to advance your skills and use it to become a better employee or a better entrepreneur, instead of it taking over positions, so to say.
Exactly.
What are some of the goals for Performance Lexus as the dealership and the brand and the community all starts to grow?
Yeah, so a big thing for us, we just went through a split of the Toyota Lexus buildings. So we're going to be building a new state-of-the-art luxury dealership here in Niagara. So we're kind of like in the process of like, we're in a makeshift kind of like half, old Toyota building, new Lexus, blah, blah, blah. But the theme with that is, I always ask the staff, when does building the new dealership start? And everybody all together will answer now. Because what we realize is we have to be ready before the building gets ready. So
For sure.
how fine-tuned are we on creating a luxury experience? How are we walking, talking? Is everything on brand with Lexus? Even, one of the kind of standards we have is anybody that emails in gets a video. And sometimes that's just a selfie video of the salesperson, like, hey, everybody, it's Dustin. I know you reached out about this car, blah, blah, blah. That was like kind of like a small step towards being able to innovate and create a luxury experience for everybody. And we're going to build from that. Like, if you've ever been to like have your car serviced, it's never like, the best day ever. Like, usually you're like paying money, the car's going to work exactly how it did earlier.
Yeah.
So kind of taking, the experience that a company like the Ritz-Carlton does, where, when you look at a company like the Ritz-Carlton, they're just a hotel, but the experience is so much more than that. It's so much warmer than that. So we need to Kaizen and kind of continuously improve ourselves to reach a level that's like not just great for a dealership, but just looked at, broadly as a great experience for guests, and compare ourselves not to other dealerships, but to other industries as well. So that's going to be a big part of it. I also really want to continue to work towards a culture, not just of high performers, but of, high thinkers and, innovators. Like we started a book club a couple years ago where, the dealership would buy books and everybody that wanted to read would read. We'd meet up once a week in the meeting, share ideas about the chapter we read, and like just seeing what that did to the culture. It made it become not just people coming in here and selling cars every day. It made people like sharing thoughts and even one of my favorite stories is, and he wouldn't mind me talking about it, is like one of my oldest staff members. I saw him change, like to be more open-minded, to be more of a thinker. And I'm like, why can't a dealership life be like that, right? Why can't we be like a company like Google or the Ritz-Carlton or all these places? And we have Performance Auto Group backing us up. So like we have the strength of that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what shapes up. But I guess the Coles Notes version of that question is we want to be unlike any other dealership out there. We want to be a destination. Like, be like those people down there in St. Catharines are different is what we're trying to get to.
You want to bring that luxury lifestyle into the community, like into your dealership community as well as your customers. You just want to bring it all whole circle and really keep things moving forward for everyone. And I think that's a super cool vision, because at the end of the day, your employees and who you're working with and who you have on your team are the ones that pay the bills for that new building that you guys are getting. So if you guys can start now, bring that community together with that book club, because that's super cool. It helps people get in touch one-on-one in more of a friendship aspect rather than a coworker aspect. And that's a lot of the time that's the wall between people is, oh, they're just my coworker, where you could be best friends, building a business together, bouncing ideas off each other, and everyone's idea is valuable to you, even if they run it through you now that you're managing the business. If maybe they thought it was a great idea, you guys can talk one-on-one. It makes the communication way easier within a company.
I will say we are still plagued by one thing, and it's across the board, is just sometimes we're just too busy though. Like sometimes it's just so hard to keep pushing that rock, because it's like, I just did, let's say 15 appraisals, and the salesperson is tired because they just sold 3 or 4 cars. And it's like, that has always held back our industry. and we're still not immune to it. Like, it's still something we try to work on, like not being too busy for those big picture things. And I haven't figured that out yet, so we'll see.
For sure. And what are some of the challenges that hold you guys back from reaching some of those goals? I guess you just spoke on one there, but are there any more challenges?
I mean, that's one. New problems do exist, right? Like, right now, I would say, navigating, for instance, vehicle thefts. That's not a secret in Ontario right now, is that Lexuses get stolen. Other brands as well, but our brand gets stolen. So sometimes you kind of have to stop the press, navigate, a situation like that, be able to speak to it, be able to protect ourselves as a dealership. And that creates extra work. Like, sometimes we're out secure in the lot. It's 30 degrees out. We're still wearing suits. And then my salespeople come back in and they're exhausted. And it's like, how can I push them harder? I can't, but I can buy them freezies and ice cream, and maybe we can, make the most of it. So being busy, new problems that pop up like that. And then we're still a business, right? So we still have to make sure we're making a profit, not spending too much. We still need to, show that we're in the green at the end of the month. But those are small in the grand scheme of things, right? I still think what we're doing, and at least what we're shooting for, is special enough to keep pushing on that front.
For sure. That's amazing. That's awesome. For someone considering a career in the automotive sales or automotive management sector, what advice do you have for them, from sharing from your own experience and your own journey through the automotive industry?
For sure. I've been asked this a few times, and I feel like my answer always tweaks a little bit, but how I'm feeling right now is, I would say, if you're picking a brand that speaks to you is important, because it'll kind of get you through the hard days, and then staying there. As I was working my way up the ranks, a close friend of mine, was doing the same, but he kept bouncing around to different dealerships and different brands. And he alluded to me just the other day that he's like, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I stayed put, found a place I loved, and just stayed there instead of always chasing the greener grass. And for me, like, Lexus and Toyota always spoke to me. Working at the manufacturing level and falling in love with, like, the brand itself really helps on those tough days, right? So those two things, and then just continuous education. Like, being in sales is a practice. So if you get complacent, you will end up being one of those people that just sell 8 cars every month. But if you can grow and challenge yourself and read books and watch videos and be better, you can make doctor money in Canada selling cars at a dealership, which is kind of crazy. But you have to be really good, really tuned in. And you also need to have the want to do so, I think, too.
For sure. That's awesome. Yeah, you gotta want to learn. Yeah, that's a great point there. If you can show up every day, but if you don't want to get better, you don't want to learn, you're going to stick, like you said, those 8 cars a day.
That's right.
What are some of the most important lessons that you've learned through your journey?
It's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Some important lessons is, I think the first one that comes to mind is probably the impact we have on people is pretty interesting. As I mentioned, sometimes we're just busy. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, walking by a reception desk, and I didn't say hi. I always say hi. I didn't say hi. I was just focused on something I'm dealing with. And then, a day goes by, 2 days go by, and finally the receptionist comes to me and says, "Can you just tell me what I did wrong?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, you're upset with me, and I can tell it. I've been trying to figure out what. And I was like, "You did nothing wrong. I'm just busy right now." And it like ripped my heart in two, because I was like, wow, that person went home last night thinking they did something wrong to me. And I think the lesson from that was we impact the people we work with and the people we meet, that come in to, whether they're a guest or a visitor or whatever. So making sure that we're on stage for that is really important. If I'm driving to work and I'm not in the right mindset, and I get to work, I circle the block until I'm in the right mindset, right? I put on, usually rap music does it for me. I'll put on something that like turns my mood around. I realize that when I walk in those doors, I have to be on stage for the people that work here and the people that, service their cars here and everything else like that, because the impact is deep, especially in a leadership role. So you can never underestimate that.
For sure. I love how you want to have that positive attitude throughout the whole dealership, and it starts with you being one of the top guys, right? And if you can show that, everyone else in the dealership is also going to see that and vibe with you, right? It's all about them vibing with you. If you come in and you're grumpy, you didn't get a good sleep or anything, they're going to sense that and they're going to get that vibe from you, and the day's kind of not going to work out. But if you come in happy to be there, excited to be there, ready to sell some cars, getting the team riled up and going for the day, it's going to be a whole different atmosphere, and you guys are probably going to sell a lot more vehicles. So I love how that's how your day starts and you really roll things out.
They started calling it Vitamin Dusty behind my back. Like, I need some Vitamin Dusty today. Like, hey, come here. What's up? Where's your optimism?
That's awesome. For those who aren't familiar with you guys, where can they find your website, your YouTube channel, social medias?
Yeah, for sure. So social media, I don't mind people following my personal one. It's just the Dustin Mason on Instagram. YouTube, it's Performance Lexus, or my other YouTube is also called A Dusty Life, which is a little bit more lifestyle, motorcycle, stuff like that. But Performance Lexus is the big one for sure, the biggest in the world right now for Lexus. And then our website is just performancelexus.ca. Or you could always look at some of our other dealerships, which is just performance.ca. So feel free, and anybody that wants to reach out to me on Instagram, I try to reply to everybody. So by all means, feel free.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time today, Dustin. I really appreciate you I really appreciate you coming, speaking your experience and your knowledge within the industry, because you have a lot. You've made a huge impact on the automotive world with your YouTube channel, with your social medias, and just Lexus in general. And I'm excited to see you guys come even further, and I might have to come check out the new building sometime because I'm not too far away.
Yeah, you're definitely invited to the grand opening for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Corson.
Oh, might not stop. Oh, there we go. I don't know what's going on.